The Memphis Grizzlies are one of the least talked about teams in the league, and surprisingly to start this season, they have started 7-6. And I say surprisingly because when Ja went out with his ankle injury, I thought they would fall off a cliff. But right now, they are the 6th seed in the West. So in today's video, I will be discussing whether or not I believe the Memphis Grizzlies will make the playoffs. But before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video because it helps my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content and to be a part of the Preaching Basketball fam before 1,000 subscribers, and drop a comment on this video to start a conversation with me because I respond to all of my comments. And play that intro. Last season, Memphis was one of the more surprising teams, as most assumed they would be a lottery team, but they nearly made the playoffs as an 8th seed and only missed it because Jaren Jackson Jr. got injured in the bubble. And going into this year, I feel they have been somewhat forgotten as one of the better teams in the West, but they have been good to start the season, and the biggest reason for their early success has been their amazing defense, which has ranked 2nd in defensive rating so far. And I don't think they will maintain being a top 3 defense in the league, but I do think they could be a top 8 or 6 defense, due to them having plenty of good defenders on their team. Morant, in the 5 games he has played so far, has been playing great, averaging 22 points and 7 assists, shooting 53% from the field. And he has looked significantly better this year, and he has looked more in control and doesn't make as much mistakes as he did before. And for the rest of the season, I expect Ja to take a leap into a surefire top 10 point guard in the league. Because right now you can definitely argue he's a top 10 guard in the league, but you can also argue that he isn't. To me, his biggest weakness is his jump shot. And yes, I am aware that he shot an okay percentage last season, but he only shot 33% while making less than 1 3 a game. And I think if he wants to be a superstar or top 10 player in the league, which he definitely is capable of being, he needs to be a better shooter. And I'm not saying he has to be Steph Curry or even Dame, but just be a guy who the defense doesn't leave open and respects. But I definitely see Ja being an all-star level player this year. To me, so far this year, the Grizzlies' 2nd best player has been Jonas Valanciunas, who has averaged 14 points and 10 rebounds so far this season, and I honestly believe he is one of the most underrated centers in the league due to his great post play and rebounding. He also fits well with this young core and brings young veteran leadership. I wish that I could say Dillon Brooks has been their 2nd best player, but he just hasn't been that good, and he's been really struggling to start the season, as he is averaging 15 points but shooting a disgusting 36% from the field and 30% from 3. And I don't entirely think it's his fault, as for most of the season he has been the 1st or 2nd option on offense for Memphis, and I don't think he's good enough to play that role, and I think he fits more as a 3rd or 4th option, as he isn't a great shot creator and is more of a 3-and-D player with some ball handling and playmaking abilities. But I think he will be at his best whenever Jaren Jackson returns. Kyle Anderson has been really good this year, averaging 12 points, 4 assists, and 7 rebounds. And when you watch him play, it's clear he's one of the slowest players in the league, and he's not even a 7-foot big man. He's a 6'6" forward, but he somehow gets buckets and rebounds. And despite having no speed at all, he is still a solid defender. He's not a star or anything, but he is one of the better role players in the league. Outside of their main players, they have a bunch of other really solid players, such as guys like Brandon Clark, who has been really good on both ends of the floor for them, as he's a power forward / center who is really good in the pick and roll. He also has one of the best floater games in the league out of all the big men. Tyus Jones is a good backup point guard who does a good job of keeping the ball movement when Ja isn't on the court. Their rookie Desmond Baines has been NBA ready and has been exactly what most expect him to be, which is a 3-and-D player. And in only 22 minutes a game, he's averaging 8 points and is shooting 48% from 3 while being a solid defender. And as of right now, there's no timetable for when Jaren Jackson Jr. will return. And I believe if he doesn't return, they will not have a chance to make the playoffs. But if he does return, they do have a legitimate chance at the playoffs, but they need him to return as soon as possible because he brings great defense and floor spacing. He can also handle the ball well for his position. But if I count all those factors in, I honestly don't see the Grizzlies making the playoffs. And the biggest reason is because I think they will really miss Jaren Jackson. And on top of that, even if they did have him, I don't think they're better than teams like the Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, Suns, Blazers, Mavericks, or Warriors. But I do think they have a good chance to make it, since every year there are injuries and disappointments. And out of teams in the West that I don't think will make the playoffs, but do have a chance to make the 8th seed, I believe they can be better than most of them. They could possibly be better than the Pelicans, Spurs, or Rockets. But if I had to make a bet $100 on Memphis making the playoffs, I wouldn't make that bet. But nonetheless, they do have a chance and they are a solid team. Anyways guys, that's it for the video. Let me know how good you think Memphis will be. Drop a like on this video if you like the video. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content and to be a part of the Preaching Basketball fam before 1K subs. Comment on this video to start a conversation with me because I respond to all of my comments. And I'm out.